Hello, and welcome to Looking for the Ocean, the podcast where we talk about everything that Pixar has ever made, and sometimes we don't. I'm Mark Young, and joining me as always is Danny Vincent. And today, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, or today it's Black Friday. We are going to talk about Chicken Run because we didn't want to talk about Free Birds.
Do you know what is incredible about us recording these episodes so closely, putting out things?
Yeah.
Is we can be very topical. I am thankful that it turned out that that news article about Aardman running out of the clay ended up not being there. Like, don't worry. They put out a statement today, like, don't worry about it, guys. We're figuring it out. We're trying to transition to a new supplier. We appreciate the concern, but do not worry. We're going to figure this out. We're not going to go out of business because clay doesn't exist. Which I'm like, wow, I'm thankful for that. I also am very cynical about the entire outreach of like people being like, oh no, Aardman, when I feel like most people who would be on Twitter being angry about clay being ran out has not probably watched an Aardman movie since Wallace and Gromit.
You could do a whole other Pixar Journey-esque podcast about Aardman because I was looking through their filmography and it's just the same as where we are now, where you get up to about Flushed Away and then after that you don't watch anything else. And just like with Disney,
Shaun the Sheep is a good movie though.
Which one is?
The first Shaun the Sheep is just a really great movie.
I don't know. I would like to check them out. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it is like the same thing that happened as we've found in our Pixar journey is once they went with a new company, or in Pixar's case, they had a new relationship with Disney, the quality of films seemed to change, or at least your perception of them did, and that was around the same time we all became teenagers and we stopped watching them anyway. And I looked at that on the Aardman filmography and I thought, oh yeah, I've never seen Band of Pirates, and that was the first film that Aardman made with Sony, and now everything else they've made since then I think has been with Sony, so far anyway, unless I'm missing one or two.
I feel like if I was to do like a spin-off show about Pixar Journey with Aardman, I would have to include Laika, because they really do share a lot of directors between them. Like the new Chicken Run movie is being directed by the person who directed Paranorman.
Well, that makes sense.
And in general, I would just want to do like with Aardman, it's like we have so little stop motion in America. I'd be like, we'll just watch the Wes Anderson ones. We'll watch Anomalisa. We'll watch of course Laika. Throw all those in.
But today we're talking about Chicken Run. Chicken Run, 2000 film starring the voice of Mel Gibson, and it's based off The Great Escape. And until I got the news article this morning about Aardman like being like, don't worry guys, we got the clay. I was like, that's gonna be my opener. Like, I'm so glad I'm thankful we get to take a break from talking about John Lasseter and we don't have to talk about anyone problematic. Now, who's the star of this movie? I mean, it's a great voice performance. It's just like Kevin Spacey as Hopper, I don't feel it was great. That's all. Well, it was directed by Nick Park, directed by Peter Lord. Nick Park, as I'm sure a lot of people know, is the guy that created Wallace and Gromit and Creature Comforts, and he's kind of become the representative of the Aardman visual brand through his creations. It's interesting to go deeper into Aardman's filmography and see what other people are making, throughout their history, and see that they have a very pretty broad visual style. But of course, I think when you think of Aardman, you think of Nick Park and the Wallace and Gromit shaped people, Danny, your thoughts on Wallace and Gromit?
I didn't really watch the old shorts much. I think we've actually talked on the podcast before because I had just, they did around when we first started the show, they did a series of stop motion at the Music Box. And I went on my way to see Curse of the Were-Rabbit again in theaters, because I remember seeing it as a kid and liking it, not really loving it. And then I saw it again recently. I was like, oh, This is phenomenal. Like, what a spectacular film. I don't think Chicken Run's as good as Wallace and Gromit and Curse of the Were-Rabbit, to be honest. But a part of that's also just because, come on, Wallace, he's an icon. Come on. And Gromit, another icon. These guys, this is what I was going to push back on with Mel Gibson. It is a great voice performance, but unlike, say, Kevin Spacey in A Bug's Life, where I think Kevin Spacey is clearly the best voice performance in A Bug's Life, this movie also has a clear best vocal performance. And it's not Rocky, it's Ginger. It's Julia Sawala. I hope I didn't butcher her name. But I think she's spectacular here. Just one of those perfect voice performances that immediately makes you love the character in addition to her animation. And the thing about the Aardman style is you actually, because of how, I don't want to be like, everyone looks the same, but it is like an art style where everyone does kind of have the same face. So it's the voice actually to me always is a big deal in it. And that's why I'm saying, we're going to do new Wallace and Gromit. It's kind of I know Wallace originally had a voice actor and we can always replace voice actors, but to me, unlike some other stuff, I don't know, it just feels weird to me to be we're going to continue with a different Wallace after Wallace has been the same voice for so long, But whatever,
I can't complain about more Wallace and Gromit too, though, because it's Wallace and Gromit. Like, cannot hate Wallace.
Did you see A Matter of Loaf and Death?
No, I haven't. That's my thing. Is like I haven't seen. I'm about to say one that you are going to be mad. I haven't seen. I've seen. I don't believe I've seen the one with the penguin.
What?
I don't know which one that is. Is that the one with trousers or close shave?
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff that I grew up with, and it actually kind of colors my experience of films like Chicken Run and Curse of the Were-Rabbit, because those films are much tamer to me, and the feature-length films always were a little bit scary. So it's interesting you being like, no, I just immediately love these feature films when.
I did not say immediately. I said I immediately liked Wallace and Gromit. Did I not tell you the story about this movie? I ran out of this movie as a kid. The pie scene freaked me out. I watched Fantasia 2000 with my dad, who was in the other room with my grandma. Me and my mom, I believe, stayed in the room with the rest of like my brothers. I was like, I cannot handle this. I will go watch Mickey Mouse. The pie scene,
which
Mickey
one?
Scene terrified me. Just the one where like they're dodging the stuff and like at the end, I don't know why. What I felt like when I was rewatching this, I felt like the primal fear, and it wasn't like, obviously I didn't feel the fear watching it now. I was like, ooh, this is what like really was like the last straw to me, which is like them being slapped with the sticker of like the pies. I was like, that's terrifying to me. Why did you slap them with a sticker of like them being dead? And I'm like, I was just like, I can't. And that was it for me. But I convinced I must have seen bits and pieces of this on TV, because there are stuff after that I was like, oh, I remember this. But then it's like the climax where it's like, we build a giant plane. I'm like, I don't remember this at all. How did we not talk about it in the Bugs Life episode of this movie?
So they never showed pictures of the plane? That's what I feel like people must know from like clips of it online. I think the plane is iconic.
I also just knew, the thing was, I also knew for a fact was that's after that pie scene is I knew like the entire time I was like, okay, yeah, Rocky, I remember the full poster. I remember the full poster of Rocky being shot out of the cannon. So I'm like, okay, so I must have caught this on TV at some point. Maybe just a couple scenes. But I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through until now. Which is funny because it's one of these movies that when I first got my Letterboxd, I think I've told you I imported all these like takes that I had. And I saw that I had Chicken Run at like 1 star on the website. I was like, okay, Chicken Run 1 star. And I'm like, I think maybe I've seen this all, but I don't remember any of it.
It's funny, I do feel, even now watching it, I get a little freaked out watching the pie scene. But for me, it's when he's standing up with the pie goop on him, and it has this kind of zombie look to it. And when she's crawling after them on the plane at the end, and she's climbing up the line of Christmas lights. That's like,
that stuff
freaky.
Is great. That stuff is so good. See, but that's you like. I don't like these movies as much as shorts because of scale. But I don't know. Rewatching Curse of the Were-Rabbit last year or whenever I did, and then rewatching this was like, the scale of this is insane. From a stop motion, as this being like Aardman's, especially for Chicken Run. Although Wallace and Gromit, I believe, is their second one, right? So Curse of the Were-Rabbit's the second one. So they're both pretty darn early in their thing, and it's like, how are they doing this sequence with the plane? It's so well animated, so perfectly done with her on like the Christmas tree lights holding on, and it's just, you're always into it just because of how great the scale is. Just really well executed on every level. I mean, the thing that is not on the Wikipedia page, but I always remember it being the argument, is Chicken Run is often cited as this was the final straw for the Academy to add the Animated Feature Award. Because it was like, how can we not give Chicken Run an award? Like, that's insane that we, like, is Chicken Run even nominated for an Oscar? No, it's not nominated for an Oscar at all. Not even for, like, original screenplay, which I feel like is a little bit of a surprise, honestly. Because it basically sweeps all the Animated Feature Awards that are available.
I think it has a very enjoyable screenplay, but I don't think it takes as many risks as a best screenplay winner would get. You know what I mean?
I didn't say it should win, but I'm saying it didn't get a nom.
Well, I just mean...
You know, like how Pixar got some... Like, Toy Story got a nomination. You know what I mean? That's all I mean. Like, Toy Story 1 got a nomination. Chicken Run didn't. I think Toy Story 1's a better film. Don't get me wrong, but I get why people might be a little like, this is the last straw. We must nominate.
Like, I've had enough.
We must be able to give Chicken Run an award. Chicken Run, by the way, is still the biggest stop motion film of all time.
It's freakish to me.
Highest grossing.
It's doing like Gone with the Wind
makes
numbers.
sense.
After Curse of the Were-Rabbit came out, I thought Curse of the Were-Rabbit was like a huge hit. But yeah, I mean, I had the same reaction as all I'm saying.
I think actually, to me, I don't want to be like Mel. I think, and this isn't because of the Mel Gibson of it all, because there really is no reason to skip the Mel Gibson of it all. It's Mel Gibson. Everyone hates him for good reason, right? We don't need to talk about
it. A tangent for all of you. You may not be familiar with this actor Mel Gibson. Well, a little biography. No, you're already giving me a look like you don't like this bit. So anyway, back to his performance in Chicken Run
Well, I don't even want to talk about his performance necessarily. I actually think, to me, this is lesser than Wallace and Gromit because I feel like he's there to make it more palatable to American audiences because there's really no reason his character should be an American.
Something about that rang true to me.
And I don't think that...
I mean, it's just like, what's the most outsider that you could bring in, you know? I don't think it doesn't, I'm just saying it's not like pure pandering, even though it probably is, you know?
I don't think he totally meshes with the humor of this movie I do like. Even though he is funny at points, I just think I'm much more into like Ginger's dry humor or I thought I had doing this is not me asking for a live action remake of this movie, okay? I do not want that. But the entire time I was watching it, I was like, dang, I feel like every male character in this movie besides Rocky, which granted is only like Mr. Tweety and the Grandpa, is like, this would be Mark Rylance in the live action remake. Like, I could see Mark Rylance doing a dual role as the rooster, like the old rooster, and as Mr. Tweety. And I was just like, imagining going, you know, I wish I had a good Mark Rylance impression, but like Mark Rylance, if you know him, has just a very distinctive like mumbly British voice.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Like his BFG voice for...
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued by that.
Or even like his role in Don't Look Up, where he's like bizarrely like, oh, all right, guys, let's do this thing. And he's like, has like attempted American accent and it doesn't work. But anyway, they both gave me strong Mark Rylance vibes, where I was like, cool. Like,
did you recognize some of the other like voice actors in this when you were listening? Because I didn't, and then I looked them up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is everybody.
I was like, Timothy Spall's in this? Wow. And I didn't realize Imelda Staunton was in it. I was trying to figure out who Mrs. Tweety was, and I'm like, I don't know who this is, you know?
She played Rita Skeeter in Harry Potter. Miranda Sanderson, I think is her name. But yeah, that's her. And then I haven't seen the movie.
We all know on this podcast that I love Harry Potter.
That,
I watch Harry Potter.
I don't actually know what your opinion of Harry Potter movies are.
Are we serious? We've never talked about this?
Oh, maybe you said that before, but like, I don't know if it came up or not. But that's so interesting because like Wallace and Gromit, Harry Potter, for whatever reason, the youngish adults in my life were very into Britain when I was younger, so I was exposed to all of these things, and like Monty Python too, and just all kinds of British things were part of my childhood because I guess I had people that were into that.
To defend the honor of the British Isles in their exports, they weren't all from Joanna, right? Like, we had Peter Pan movies, we had other British, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be like, I watched Narnia, you know, like...
Yeah, but like...
It was not the only time I was confronted with British accents was... And now my pitch for the live action remake, by the way, because it just popped in my head because I said Narnia, is like, all right, so obviously Mr. Tweety's got to be Mark Rylance, and we got Tilda as Mrs. Tweety. Like, come on, like you just get Tilda. Honestly, just put Tilda Swinton in every role, right? It's just a 2-person show of Mark Rylance and Tilda Swinton, and Mark Rylance is trying to be Mel Gibson.
I love, I didn't even get it until recently. My girlfriend and I are kind of doing like a small-ish rewatch of every short film where Tilda Swinton plays like a billion parts, and I don't know. I thought she was just this art actor that came out of nowhere one day, and now I'm getting woke to her chops and in the past, and also like how young she is. That is a surprise to me. But yeah, I love all the voice performances. What?
Are you thankful for them? I'm thankful for Tilda Swinton.
Are you a fan of The Killer?
I'm thankful for Tilda Swinton, and no, I'm not a fan of The Killer.
Like, nominate Tilda Swinton for The Killer.
I mean, since you mentioned nominate, because this is what I kept almost saying, well, now you let me into it, is I stick by Mark Rylance. Should have been nominated for Dunkirk. That's his best performance. Mm-hmm. He's so good in Dunkirk. Great movie in general, but Mark Rylance is the best performance in that movie, and a movie full of great performances. And he's just a great performance by being Mark Rylance in that movie, too. I love performances like that, where it's like, yep, there's Mark Rylance, do his Mark Rylance thing. He doesn't need to be like, have you ever wondered how to eat somebody? Timothy.
Oh my gosh, is he in that movie? I would watch that for that.
I think he's really great in it. Other people hate him in it. I think he's really great in it just because the movie becomes fascinating when he's in it. It's not like he's giving a good performance, but it's something where it's just like, okay, so Luca Guadagnino is just like, do your thing, Mark. Do whatever you want, Mark Rylance. You got an Oscar. I don't know that. I can't.
I love that, but I'm also like a legit fan of Brendan Fraser's scene in Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't know if it's a big spoiler, but the way he does that, I don't know if it is like correct, but I love seeing it there. He has that girth, which is a Martin Scorsese quote.
We're not being problematic. We're quoting
But I don't know, if you
Scorsese.
haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon, it's great. And then also the way Brendan Fraser does his lines is like a treat. I just am entranced by that. But anyway, Chicken Run.
Everyone, by the way,
Why
should
does
see The
everyone?
Holdovers.
Oh well, I can't
That's my recommendation.
Can't go down that path again. Anyway, everyone loves The
It's
Holdovers.
great.
That's what I hear. And but yeah, another great film. You get to see every actor in Britain doing voice roles here. And and we didn't mention, I haven't actually seen Quadrophenia, but Phil Daniels was the lead of that. He's the other rat that's not Timothy Spall. And then the guy that plays the Grandpa Rooster is also in that movie.
I would say Timothy Spall is the most famous of these people, really, and I did not recognize his voice.
I think Imelda Staunton.
Well, I think Imelda Staunton
Yeah.
is too.
I mean,
guess,
I don't. You wouldn't really recognize Timothy Spall's voice. He doesn't have that kind of.
I mean, I don't know. His most famous role to me, because I don't watch Harry Potter, was in Enchanted, where he played like the butler animated character. So in that case, in that movie, you are really paying attention to those voices of like Amy Adams, James Marsden, because they're your connective
Alright.
tissue to that upper
So
world.
in Chicken Run, when in watching this movie did you first get hype? Because I got hype from the very beginning with the music over the DreamWorks logo. I love the music in this movie. And maybe it's just because I don't.
It's so interesting to see the DreamWorks animation logo before Shrek. Because Shrek just completely overtakes with the on like any movie. So it's like, here's what DreamWorks was before Shrek. It's not the music. I think the score in this movie is brilliant. I love it, and it's kind of the same thing with Wallace and Gromit too. Like I haven't seen Chicken Run enough that I can't hum it. But with Wallace and Gromit, obviously I can go like do 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 do. But I'm sure if I watch Chicken Run like 3 or 4 times, like if Chicken Run became a yearly movie, I'm willing to bet by like year 3 I'd be able to hum the whole score to you. It's just that type of great score. Or even like whenever I watch the sequel, I might be able because I assume they're gonna bring back themes. I'll be like, the Chicken Run score. Brilliant.
Yeah. I just like it because I haven't heard I don't hear a lot of fanfares in movies because I don't usually go out for that kind of thing. But it is nice just in a comedy like this. And even in the Wallace and Gromit shorts, that's what I like too. It's like, it's this little domestic thing, but you have this big happy march going on. That's really exciting.
I actually had this thought that's kind of unrelated to this film itself, but talking about scores. When this came up in the score, and the score is so big and bombastic, and I think about how, scores today really aren't. So here's the thing. The reason we can talk about it here now with Pixar is because I think Pixar scores are their own category. I went to a wedding this weekend. They played Marry Life at one point, right? They're just kind of like, oh yes, the Pixar score. They're always going to put some effort in the scores, but it's not like a DreamWorks score, right? It's not like Shrek. I think this makes sense. You know what I mean? They're not going to puncture their score with pop music. That's all I mean, really. Whereas every other studio will at some point, even for DreamWorks. And this is one I'm going to point out as a great score, How to Train Your Dragon. They still have some Jonesy songs in there too, With Pixar, maybe Randy Newman sings once. Or Sarah McLachlan.
Did you catch this is the same guy that did How to Train Your Dragon?
Yes, that's what I was building up to. Is that I listened to this. It's not just him. It is It's
like him and another DreamWorks guy.
Harry Gregson Williams and then John Powell with it. And I saw that for the sequel, it's just Harry Gregson Williams coming back because John Powell is semi-retired. I believe he only did recently. I think he only did Dragon 3, and then he got asked to do solos of Star Wars Story by fun story there I've heard, which is it's legit. It's from one of my insider friends. They told me this years ago. Is that John Williams was pissed off with the Rogue One score with Giacchino to the point where they're like, all right, so then who do you want for solo? And he handpicked John Powell for it. Which makes sense because the solo score is really great.
What did he not like about Rogue One? Not a Giacchino fan?
It's not even, this isn't an insider thing. That was a rush job for Giacchino. He was hired a month and a half before release because Alexandre Desplat was hired to do it. And they just kicked him off because it wasn't fitting with what they wanted from Star Wars. And it was like, okay, we'll get Giacchino because he's going to give you it. And Giacchino, I think I might have talked about this on the show before, but I can talk about it. I've talked about it on Why Is. Because he does the same thing with his Spider-Man thing, where his Spider-Man theme starts with, da da da. It starts with how da 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 does whatever a spider can, but his thing is da 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 da, and I'm like, stop it, just give me the Spider-Man theme, don't mess around with it. And he does the same thing in Rogue One, where he'll open the movie with da da, and then it'll be dun dun. I don't know. He just goes off. He gives you that very beginning and then becomes something else. And what it becomes, I've actually grown on Rogue One a lot since it first came out, because I remember hating the Rogue One score when it came out. But there's a lot of stuff in that third act that really works. But he never implements the main themes, which I think might have annoyed John Williams. I think also the thing is that it very purposely is kind of, I don't know what the word, I want to say atonic, but that's not a word. It's very purposely, though, aiming not to sound like Star Wars while also being in Giacchino's style, which is very Williams aping. Whereas I think, we talked about before, Giacchino's best non-Pixar score is probably Star Trek, right? Or maybe the Apes movies, but the Star Trek theme is something that is very hummable, like I don't know why it's not in my head right now, but or also, the Batman. Like, those are both very hummable themes.
The Batman? The Matt Reeves Batman?
Dun, yeah, the dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Okay, I just had
thing.
to, yeah.
But my point here is that I was trying to make here is it's really interesting to look at this movie and How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda and even stuff like, Shrek. Like, you think about Shrek, as a kid, you really just think about the soundtrack. But now when you think about Shrek, I do just think of the da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. Like, all these movies have a very distinct score. And a part of it's because, Shrek, How to Train, not with Chicken Run or Wallace and Gromit necessarily, but these are all, franchises, right? I even think about, there was a time in middle school where my middle school orchestra would always do the main theme from Madagascar, which is, this Zimmer track that's very, I can't hum it right now, but, when they played it, I was like, oh, duh, of course that's Madagascar. And it's something where it's really interesting because I feel like you listen to dramas at the time, right? You listen to these other things. They don't get to play around that space that you expect more from 80s and 90s stuff where it's very much people know John Williams is the best, right? And they're like, let's just try to be John Williams. And it's so interesting because you can even point to John Powell, right? Because John Powell, brilliant composer. As I said, handpicked by John Williams to be his successor on Star Wars, although now they've moved on to Ludwig and who else? Nicholas Bertel on Andor, both of who give great scores on those shows. I look at John Powell at the same time as he was doing the stuff of these animated things. He did also the Jason Bourne movies, which are just noise. That's just noise in the background. It's fine noise, but it's whatever, And it's when he gets to do an animated movie, he can go ham on here's things, here's some themes, have some fun with it. And it's something where we don't get to talk about this a lot because even though we talk about these scores at Pixar, I think Pixar very particularly, unlike these other movies, they're using their music to make you cry, if that makes sense. Shrek is not trying to, Chicken Run is not trying to make you cry. But there's these really fun, jaunty scores that feel like they could be straight out of not Star Wars specifically, but maybe John Williams' Superman, it's playing in that same realm of playfulness that you don't get at Pixar. And you get that from How to Train Your Dragon, you get that from Kung Fu Panda, you get that from all these other
kind of
And that's what I was thinking when I saw John Powell's name in the credits. I was like, John Powell in animation, great! I know this is going to be good.
It's kind of towards the Danny Elfman end of the spectrum, while,
Definitely thinking also to give some credit, some of those 2000s, I say 2000s, not anymore, but around Chicken Run's time, Spider-Man. Danny Elfman's Spider-Man theme. That score is or even for Hans Zimmer, who is often given this guy's garbage. Although granted, I've heard that I'm about to say Pirates of the Caribbean, and I hear that's actually mostly done by Klaus Badelt, I believe. Klaus Badelt. But those movies, and that's not it. There is a point to be made here that I'm coming from a place of bias. These are the things I'm nostalgic for. I've seen these movies as kids, but I also I think you play the Pirates of the Caribbean theme, everyone knows it. You play the Spider-Man theme, the original Spider-Man theme, everyone knows that one. They don't know the Andrew Garfield one or the Tom Holland one. I think we've talked about this on my Marvel podcast, the only modern theme I'd say in the last 15 years that really resonates with an audience is new, that isn't Rey's theme from Force Awakens, is the Avengers theme. And that's just because Marvel blares it whenever they can, which is fine. It's a good theme, but I can't think of another strong movie score. Let me rephrase, a strong movie score that's iconic to people. Oh, it's another one actually, to be fair. I think there are some tracks from Interstellar and Inception that people really know. But that's also because Nolan is Nolan. And I think Ludwig did play the strings very well earlier this year. I think Oppenheimer is going to become an iconic score.
Well, so this is a brilliant
score. This movie has a great score.
I wanted to talk about the structure of this movie, because for me, it is almost a perfect film. There are things about it that frustrate me. I don't know if whatever it is in the performance or the way it's written, I think that the film falls just short of being perfect for me in the way the characters behave, because it seems what's his name? Mel Gibson. It seems like his character, Rocky, thank you.
Rocky.
It seems like his character should admit immediately that he can't fly, and yet this. So I'm making a big leap here in our conversation. But like that's my one issue with the film is.
You're good. I just
no, you're fine. I'm just like. So that's my big issue with the film is that I don't know if the benefits that he receives from being in the chicken coop are good enough for him to pretend to be this like, you know, go-getter flying chicken guy, you know?
I think it's one of those things where like the film is kind of hamstrung by its setup, right? Where it's like, well, we can't reveal that Rocky is not a flying chicken for the kids. Because I actually do think the way that reveal is framed is meant to be like, oh yeah, because even if you do know, because I think watching this, I knew what it was, but I realized when that reveal was done, I was like, no, you know what? It's fair if he's like a circus animal. He could very well just be a flying rooster. Like, that is a novelty that he could very well be. Even if the movie, you know, hints at it beforehand. I do think the reveal of it is well done, even if, you know, you go into it knowing what it is.
Yeah. I just mean it has that quality of a farce sometimes where it's like, well, why don't they just tell each other what's going on?
Well, I also think to me the issue more is I don't buy that Ginger and Rocky have anything for each other.
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, that's the problem we talked about before with a lot of these movies of our youth, where it's like, well, there's a guy and a girl and they gotta be together, especially when like it goes all the way back to like, I'm gonna say His Girl Friday, but even longer than that, where it's like there's this hyper competent woman and then this guy who's kind of a schlub who means well. That's not what His Girl Friday. The guy in His Girl Friday is very useful, but you know what I mean. Like there's a schlub who's very like he's nice, and it's like, well, they deserve to be together, you know, and it's like, but do they? Dude, like, what does Ginger see in this guy other than it is a male figure that's her age? Which I guess is fair, but the movie doesn't play into
I mean,
that,
he tried to save her one time, but, I mean, she ended up saving him, so it is kind of unclear what the attraction is there. But, I mean, I don't know. I think that's kind of an interesting mystery, is why we find certain people attractive despite their schlubbiness, you know? And let's not like, I'm not even saying that's like a me or a you thing. That's just something I've like observed in the world where people are like, did you see that video today that people are like, oh, isn't Leo so hot because he's on set like razzing everybody about the tornado that's coming down on, or were you not like on Twitter today? Okay, this is me being weird.
Mark, I think we've covered once on this podcast.
Are you not on Twitter?
I don't know if you're aware of this.
Not a big Twitter guy?
No. That Twitter isn't real. Twitter, remember you told me this, we went to like a 3-hour episode where you kept convincing me Twitter's not real.
I don't remember that. Anyway, I'm saying you
were like, tweets aren't real, Danny.
I don't know. I kind of went on a little tangent there. Or I went on a little digression or whatever. But anyway, what I'm saying is like, I love this movie because it seems near perfect to me in its construction. Like everyone is just dumb enough to not ask certain questions. The pace is quick enough so it doesn't seem like people have enough time to reflect on what's going on. And that all seems important for me with this story about a case of mistaken identity, and I think the film pulls it off really well.
And I think the real thing it needs to, because the thing is, this is a movie, and this is a lot of Aardman stuff, right? And this is fine, like, it's their humor. Aardman kind of fills their movies always with idiots, right? And that's what makes it enjoyable. Like, Wallace and Gromit, Crystal the Were-Rabbit, every character in the movie is an idiot except for Gromit. Mm-hmm. And Gromit can't talk, right? And Gromit also has kind of a goofy personality, he gets to show off sometimes. Meanwhile, in this, I think Ginger, you know, is our Gromit, but the thing is, Ginger is both very funny, and she is a little ignorant. Like, she is a little dumb. But, like, not, like, in a very likable way. Like, in a very, like, plucky...
Well, but she's trusting. You know, if you were, like, in that position, you have to, like, well, I can't identify this character as dumb. I think you'd...
She's not dumb. She just believes that Rocky would be telling the truth. Because why would Rocky not be, you know? I don't know. I think Ginger is really just a great character. That's the thing to me. It's like, wow, what a nice movie where it's like, there's all these wacky characters, and then our main character is actually the most likable character. Because there are so many movies where it's like that, and your main character is like a blank slate that's bland. And it's like, no, I do like Ginger. I'm rooting for her more than anyone else in this movie.
I love that she's allowed to be like complicated, and I love that we get to see that from her. We get to see her rally people and then break down herself. And then, you know, she does trust Rocky a little too much. And it's just, I see why in the little notes at the bottom of the Wikipedia page, this is they said that people use this movie as an example of like a feminist film, and I think you could have a very interesting conversation about that. But I definitely see that in Ginger, who seems fully a person.
I feel like I also hear often the talking point, and someone was saying this to me literally right before I watched is that this is a movie that teaches socialism, and I gotta say, I kind of watched that with that in mind. I don't mean like rude to these people, because what you get out of movies, what you get out of the movies, but I really don't see it personally.
There is actually one moment that stuck out to me that I thought was a very interesting thing that they kept in, and that is when they're like, Rocky's about to train all of the chickens, and he's like, I'll be your leader. And everyone's like, what does that mean? And he's like, that means everyone has to do what I say. And then there's a cut to Ginger going like, rrr. And I thought that was really interesting to have in there, because it's not like Big Joke. It's more like a foreshadowing of why Rocky is not to be trusted. But I don't know. I think that's intriguing that the film is like,
because Ginger would never take the lead, right?
Well, I guess so. It's just interesting that the film had a moment of questioning hierarchy in favor of collectivism, but then the rest of the film doesn't exactly follow that, because it, like, obviously Ginger is the leader, and you need everyone to get out of the pen, to get out of the chicken farm. But it's not like there's a scene where people are questioning Ginger's authority. I mean, I don't know anymore. No one corrects Ginger with an idea that's actually right. You know what I mean? Everyone's just like, oh, you said this would work and it didn't. Now we're going to have our fight scene, and this is the pit of despair in the script, But none of the other chickens comes up to Ginger and is like, you're wrong. Here's a better plan. Ginger is actually, as far as I remember, is always correct.
Can I talk about the one scene in this movie I hate? The scene I hate in this movie is, I feel like this is a bit of a, there's a lot of stuff in this movie where there's a joke in here that people always quote that I feel like it's not even that they quote it. I think other stuff has copied it. And this isn't what I'm going to complain about, but there's like a joke where it's like, my whole life flashed before my eyes. I don't know why I'm making her Scottish. I don't think it's a Scottish character who does that.
That's not a Scottish
Merida
character.
just appeared, but it's okay.
Unlike the Scottish character.
I know it's not a Scottish, but my whole life flashed before my eyes. It was really boring, and that's like a joke that's been ripped off everywhere. I thought it was funny. That's not my issue with the movie. My issue with the movie is there's this stock beat in the third act where the grandpa character, the dad character, is like, so who's gonna fly the plane? And we're like, you were gonna fly the plane. And it's like, what do you mean? Why would I fly the plane? I was the mascot. I don't know how to do it. And it just now is being brought up in the third. I'm like, I really rolled my eyes at that. I was like, come on. And they're like, and it literally is just like, they're like, come on, you can do it. Okay, I guess I'll try. And it's like, okay, so why do we even need this beat? If it was like Ginger had to fly it, sure. Or if someone else had to fly it, sure, have this beat here. But if it's just like giving him the motivation to do it because he was actually the mascot, you could have solved that and put that not there. It was not a needed beat. And it really bothered me that it's like, he doesn't need that moment.
Yeah, and it also contradicts his character.
Yeah, he doesn't need that moment. The character's already very cool and likable, and he can be like, I don't know about this, guys. I was just the mascot. It doesn't need to be like this grand reveal thing. You know what I mean? I feel like it's something where, they should all know he's not in the RAF.
I don't know if they know what the RAF is. I think that's a weird moment, too, where they're like, what is the RAF? And it's like, you've never asked that before in, like, the years that you've known each other?
I don't know. I don't mind that. I feel like it's something where it's like, I can't think of like a similar comparison in the US, but it's like, I'm in the I don't know, but I kind of get it. It's like, this is the HMS Pinafore. What does HMS stand for? Like, do they say that in the HMS Pinafore? I don't think so. Like, no one cares. Like, it's just, there's just initials,
I don't know if we have like fun acronyms anymore. My brain immediately went to like the Women's Auxiliary Committee or something, which doesn't exist anymore. We just had a lot more fun acronyms.
I'm on the PTA. Paul Thomas Anderson. No, the parent-teacher organization.
Oh no, I thought you were a Paul Thomas Anderson
humor. I'm
expert.
So sorry, everyone.
Who will lead our discussion for him now? Do you think there was ever a moment where they wrote the scene this way, that he goes ahead and he's about to pilot the plane, and then Ginger comes up to him and she's like, what's wrong, boss, or whatever his name is, and he's like, oh, nothing's wrong. Everything is okay. And then he like doesn't know how a plane works. And then Mac is like explaining it to him or something like that. And then, maybe this should be a scene between him and Mac. So Mac is teaching him how to use the plane. And then it's just a little moment with him and Mac where he's like, I was never in the RF. I was just one of their mascots. And then she's like, oh, well, we have to fly this plane. And that's like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think that'd be rough too. I think all you really need from him to do is be like, are you ready to fly it? Yes. Or like the scene, the thing of it is like, I'm like, a map. Or maybe, I think the issue might even be like, during that montage of them building it, it should come up. Like, who's gonna fly the plane? And it's like, of course it's gonna be you. And he's like, well, I'm not sure if I know how. It's like, Mac's like, I'll help out. And just have that be part of the montage. So that way, when it's finally his time to fly the plane, they're like, he's like, I don't know if I can do it. And everyone's like, don't worry, you can. Like, we believe in you. Okay, like, leave it at that. Don't be like, I was just a mascot. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm bringing this up now. And I'm just like, all right, well, they might not know this, but I think everyone watching the movie knows that you obviously have not flown a plane, because this movie takes a pretty, about as realistic a position they can about these talking chickens trying to break out, right? Like, it's still a goofy Aardman world, but it's not like they can talk to the humans. Although, do they talk to the humans at the end? I don't think they do. It just kind of feels like they're talking to each other when they're talking to Miss Tweety. I'm unsure. I can't remember.
I don't think they talk to the humans. It's just kind of, it's that trope where they suddenly become aware that the chickens have this technology, but I don't think they actually talk to them. It's very Ratatouille in that way.
I do want to say, for the record, I think this is much better than A Bug's Life, because the ending is kind of similar with the plane thing, and I think this movie is, in general, I enjoy this more than A Bug's Life.
They also end up on the Bug's Life island, which I think is really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another beat that kind of gave me pause, but I was like, I think it's okay if you do.
When they offer the eggs to the rats.
I love that.
Like, take our children.
Actually. And I love that they have to use the eggs as weapons at the end, and the rats are crying about it. It's like the best fucking thing ever.
But I mean, I actually really love. I like that to me is like the rats have kind of a very quiet arc where they're there at the end. They're like, no, we actually do want these chickens to get out.
Exactly. It's like, why do they get an arc? It's amazing. But there's a cliched line at the end where Ginger and Rocky are in the plane, and she's like, smacks him, and she's like, that's for running away, and this is for coming back. And then she goes in to kiss him, but then something else happens, and I was just like, oh man, I know people hate this kind of thing, but if you keep having a great movie around it, and then you just keep switching the animals around, I don't know if I'll get tired of that. That's a really fun thing to me.
My favorite thing I don't think they really draw attention to, that's just a quick sight gag that had me giggling, is when they're all pedaling on it, and that the chicken that knits is just kind of bouncing up and down, knitting on her chair. She's not helping at all.
Oh man.
I like that gag a lot.
I would have to go back and rewatch it. It really is like, this movie is a spectacle, even though it's so low budget.
It is very, in a way, I'm glad we picked this, because obviously the Thanksgiving connection is...
It's about...
it's about chickens, turkeys, it's food. Yeah, but I also am watching this is very interesting, because, I always point to and obviously this isn't the first ever stop motion feature-length film ever made, right? But, I always be like, compare Toy Story to Snow White, and Toy Story is so much better. And with Chicken Run, it's like, I still think Toy Story is better, but the competition is much closer, And I say, even though obviously this isn't a new medium, I do think Aardman kind of did make their own genre in this space of they pretty much made what we think of when we think of stop motion, we think of either Henry Selick and that type of style, we think of the Rankin Bass style, or we think of Aardman, right? Because I think Laika does fall under that Tim Burton Henry Selick thing, and then obviously the Wes Anderson stuff falls under Rankin Bass, and then it's just Aardman, which is claymation. Which, I mean, there is other claymation, but Aardman is the most popular. This is me being I'm an animation scholar that's never studied stop motion. I think Aardman is revolutionary, but I do think Aardman had been around for years at this point, so they're being this is our Aardman feature film. And it's an original feature film about chickens. It's like, okay, let's see how this goes. And you see it and you're like, oh, great first attempt. Like, honestly, in a lot of ways, people will point to this. Even though I like Wallace and Gromit more, there's an argument this is a much bigger achievement. Not only because it's their first one, because it's original, right? It's not like we have these pre-existing characters. It's like, these are some chickens. Have your fun with it. I think it's just interesting also to watch it because I don't know when Shaun the Sheep was created, but I feel like Shaun the Sheep has so much in common with this, like, in theme. And I really like Shaun the Sheep a lot. I think Shaun the Sheep is so cool. Oh, well, Shaun the Sheep was in A Close Shave. So, yes, of course he's in A Close Shave. I think I have seen A Close Shave. I don't think I've seen The Wrong Trousers.
Man, you gotta watch The Wrong Trousers. The sound effects in The Wrong Trousers pop into my head sometimes.
You have to watch the Shaun the Sheep movie. I also gotta say, you know, we talked about this in the Creativity episode, how kind of sad it was that Disney went away from hand-drawn. But I do think it's much more sad to point to Aardman doing Flushed Away and Arthur Christmas. Because to me, it's like, why would I ever watch an Aardman movie that's CGI? Why is there a Chicken Run video? Why is there a Wallace and Gromit, like, series of point-and-click adventures?
You don't want to hang out with them. I'd have to, like...
I mean, that's true, but I just, like, I want to, like... If Aardman was to do CGI again, then he needed to go like Spider-Verse route. Like, at least fuck up with the frame rates, please. Like, make, you know what I mean? Like, give me that vibe
I think
at least.
Pirates is CGI. I think Pirates is stop motion. No, yeah, that's what I mean. I think they kind of went back.
Stop motion. I didn't say Pirates.
Yeah. But I mean, well, I don't know. Flushed Away was on my cabinet in my shelf as a child, and I don't have bad memories of it.
I always think about Flushed Away in a Happy Car, which was the Nickelodeon magazine parody of it, where it was just like, look at all the movies that came out this year. It's one big movie. Flushed Away in a Happy Car. And that was the whole joke.
What was that like?
So it was Flushed Away in a happy feet car.
Was this like a Mad TV joke?
It was like the Nickelodeon magazine, yeah. Flushed Away in a happy car. I want to see if the internet remembers this at all. It does not look like it did. It does not look like it did. This is gone. This is lost media. Someone scan it. Just kidding. I think I should have it in my room. Maybe I should scan it to society, the internet. Be like, look at this lost media I found of the Nickelodeon magazine parodies of this bullshit.
I mean, and I can't speak to the quality of Flushed Away now, but even though it's CGI, I still think that this movie has, like, to me, I think maybe genius is the wrong word here, but it's like slapstick needs to be organic and logical, and because it does that so easily, it's like, that's my favorite thing. Like, just even a very simple joke like, who couldn't think of this joke when Ginger hands Mac the drawing when they're waiting in roll call, and Mac is like, oh, is this the new plan? Oh, I thought we'd already tried going under. And then she reaches back and flips the paper upside down, and then is like, oh, over. Like, it's like, do you not find this, like, so beautiful when something like that works out like that?
I think it's a very funny movie. I hate to quote a review on Letterboxd, but I'm gonna do it because this has been the top review on Letterboxd since I've like had a Letterboxd, right? And I had forgotten about it because I don't want to say like I'm always on the Chicken Run page, because it's not like I'm obsessed with checking the Chicken Run reviews, but it's come across my Letterboxd browsing, you know? And I had forgotten about this joke, and it made me laugh in the movie. And I was like, I've read this joke so many times on the Letterboxd page, and it's made me laugh anyway. And the joke is like, when Ginger says, when there's a will, there's a way, and Rocky says, and I will be leaving this way. And that's like the joke, and I was like, that's a good, like, it is a good little clever humor. It's full of clever stuff. It's something where I feel like Aardman's sense of humor is just so hard for me to like single out good jokes, because it's kind of like one of those things where it's constantly barraging you, but not like when you're watching like a Phil Lord or Chris Miller movie. It's like you're constantly getting jokes thrown at you, but they're all subtle, dry jokes. And occasionally you're gonna like really laugh at one of them, but usually you're just gonna be smiling the whole time. And that's my issue with like really like it's something where I have a bad habit where I've seen the Shaun the Sheep movie like 3 times, and I've only ever like given it on Letterboxd like a 3.5. But I'm also like, I can recognize this as like a movie that's way better than my mind is letting it be for me, just because I cannot ever get like fully locked in on it. Because I feel like if I could just completely lock in on the Shaun the Sheep movie, I would find it like, because Shaun the Sheep is basically, I don't want to like overhype it too much, because I also don't, I'm not as big on this movie as a lot of people are, but I think the best way to compare it to, because it's not really a silent movie, so if anything, it's like Aardman doing Playtime, where it's like, it's basically a silent movie, but there's a lot of funny sound effects during it that's going to add to the humor, you know? And I think that's what Playtime is. Also, yeah, you should really watch Shaun the Sheep. Like, it is.
I should watch Shaun the Sheep.
Not the sequel. Not the sequel's fine. The original though is like, good, like very good. And I think it's 2015, so that's the last Aardman movie I really loved. I just remember, you know, Aardman, the Wallace and Gromit, the one Chicken Runs Through the Knife movie. So the next one's gonna be if it's a Wallace and Gromit movie. I don't know if they've said it's a movie or a short, but that will be, I believe, their 10th feature if it is a movie. And it's really funny because it's like, you know, Aardman can either give you like something really great or like something like really good, or they can just like be like, we're dedicating 5 years of our production time to this comedy about cavemans playing soccer. And it's like, I hate everything. I hate their priorities here, because the soccer movie ain't good. It's one of those things where it's like, Aardman, you're making it really hard for me to root for you, that you think this is worth your commitments.
They are baffling. That's what I mean, is we could do a whole other podcast and we bring people on and they'd be like, yeah, I mean, after Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I kind of like stopped paying attention.
Get like a professional soccer nut for that movie and be like, look, we don't know what to talk about with this one.
I didn't actually know it existed until I was kind of reading in prep for this episode, so I don't know.
I remember I saw it in college with Caleb, friend of the podcast, Caleb, and I remember, let me find his Letterboxd review, because his Letterboxd review made me laugh so hard, I remember. Because it was like, I logged it late because I think my computer was out of commission at the time. Where is this review? Did he get rid of it? He might have deleted it. So, oh yeah. With an hour of half star from Caleb. Within an hour leaving the theater, I'd forgotten I'd seen this movie, but I only remember now because a friend, which is me, just posted their review. It's like, dang, like, you know, that's about as hard as you can get on a movie. Is like, oh yeah, this was something I saw. Because it really is just like, what? When you're watching a movie, like how... And that, I want to point out to the listeners, this is a movie called Early Man. This is probably, I think, one of their most stacked... Well, Flushed Away is like their most stacked cast, but the leads of this movie is Eddie Redmayne and Tom Hiddleston. So it's like, in 2018, it's like, these were big actors, you know? And it's like, here they are doing an Aardman movie where it's like, just cavemen playing soccer. That's the movie.
After I'd seen Onward, I don't know if Tom Hiddleston is like the magic secret sauce to make a movie great, you know.
Hey guys, let's point and laugh at Mark because he just confused Tom Holland with Tom Hiddleston.
All right.
Tom Hiddleston is low-key.
Yeah.
Tom Holland
they need to put a stop to that if I'm confusing them.
Well, Tom Hardy and Tom Hanks.
I couldn't confuse Tom Hardy and Tom Hanks. That's how you can't.
But listen, they're all Tom H.
The film.
I think what also is interesting about this movie and looking at Aardman is like, you know, when I think of Aardman, I think of Wallace and Gromit. I think of like their machines. And so you're watching this movie and it's just like, all right, well, this is fun. This is chicken. And all of a sudden this steampunk abomination of a pie making shows up. And it's like, oh, okay, this is Wallace and Gromit. You know, like it's something where I feel like in a way I was at a point I was like expecting, because, you know, I was thinking about, you know, how I was thinking about this because in Aardman, all their faces look the same. Like, no matter what, they're all have the same eyes, the same, like, mouth type of thing. That's just how Aardman rolls. And I was like, you know, if this was, like, if they didn't have, like, protective custody in a way of, like, how they want Wallace and Gromit to be seen, because Wallace and Gromit popped up in me. I feel like if this was, like, Pixar at this time, and, like, Wallace and Gromit just popped up in a short film, they would have pulled, like, you know, how Jerry pops up in Toy Story 2. Imagine if it was Wallace selling the pie machine. But it's like, Wallace couldn't do that. Wallace could not aid in killing off those chickens. I think it's also interesting because, you know, the plot of Curse of the Were-Rabbit is about how he wants to make humane bunny catching and not just shooting bunnies from eating vegetables, as he always says.
He doesn't say like Yogi Bear, but he does say vegetables.
Yeah. That's interesting that you hit on that as a trademark of Aardman. It's kind of like Hayao Miyazaki with his like goop villains, you know? It's like it's always going to be and I didn't even think about it, but it is like no matter who does all the steampunky things, you always know. And I mean, it's kind of a.
I think even the soccer movie has it, because it's like they go to a higher civilization that's like Roman, but it's like they still got like crazy things that like open their like giant doors that like spin and turn when they open, you know, stuff
I guess
like that.
I don't know if this is how they think about it, but it seems to me like it's especially special because they're using claymation and it's not like Coraline where everything looks a little bit like jagged. But when you have the machine in the claymation world, you clearly show what is unnatural versus what is, you know, like a living being or something like that.
Exactly. And it's like, you always feel like, and I don't want to give them credit because I don't know how they make it, but I feel like always when those machines are moving, they just built a machine that's actually moving in real time. And then they're finding a way to have the claymation characters move with it. Now, that might not be true. They might just be like, have a very precise style, which is very possible too. Regardless, though, since it looks like that, it's like either they're doing this cool technique that I imagine is hard, or they're doing their other technique incredibly well, that it looks like they're doing this other technique really well. So no matter what, they're putting a lot of effort into this thing.
I don't know how they did so much of what happens in this movie. I think it's helpful for me to remember that this came out in 2000, which is like post Matrix, so kind of anything's possible. But like, how do they get the fire in the oven?
But
that's amazing.
I mean, but also it started in 1998, you know, and it says here they wrapped in 1999, which feels like it's weird they held on to the movie for so long, but whatever. So it was like a year and a half of shooting the movie, which is, you know, it's I mean, I don't actually think that's a really short amount of time for what I think of for like a stop motion movie.
Park
you know,
6 years to make the original Wallace and Gromit short.
But then Aardman kind of became this powerhouse, which they still kind of are. Like, you know, Disney just contracted them for that Star Wars show they have, so they still get like very big stuff. And you know, Aardman, we keep talking about them. It's like, I think it really is like, you know, outside of Disney and DreamWorks, which are like big conglomerates, it's like, and Pixar now too is part of the conglomerate, but I say like when they first started, they were just Pixar, you know, they were like these new guys on the lot. And I feel like Aardman is kind of there, and I feel like Don Bluth might be there too. I'm trying to think of like the smaller animation, you know what I mean? I think Aardman's there. Leica's there now, but I actually think Aardman has been, the fact that Aardman's been around for so long is so like cool, and they're still Aardman.
Yeah.
That's all I
don't know if Don Bluth, he's kind of like older news.
I guess it's more like,
it's just, you know, he's part of
I feel like it's Don Bluth. It's Don Bluth. Well, I'm not even saying that. I'm like, Aardman is so interesting because Aardman is a contemporary of Don Bluth. Aardman's a contemporary of Pixar. Aardman's a contemporary now of Leica. And yet they always feel like they're that small studio that occasionally puts out something. And it's usually worth watching. Although recently sometimes it's like, you should put it on mute maybe. You know what I mean? Like the soccer movie, it's like, why? Like, why did you do this? Why'd you put this out against Black Panther?
Did you notice that this was written by Kerry Kirkpatrick, that I think we've talked about, because he wrote James and the Giant Peach? And he's a really interesting guy.
He's a guy who he's got so many cool credits. He started James and the Giant Peach, and then his only credit before Chicken Run besides that is the direct-to-video Honey, I Shrunk the Kids 3. And then he directed, and this is so interesting to me, I actually had assumed he directed more than just this. Oh, no, he's directed 3 movies. He directed Over the Hedge, Imagine That, which is a live-action Eddie Murphy comedy that's whatever. And then he directed, it looks like Smallfoot, which is the movie I remember recently he did. And maybe it says he only wrote he translated Secret World of Ariadne from Up on Poppy Hill.
There's been a big misunderstanding. That's the tagline for Smallfoot. Anyway.
No. I've ever told my story about Smallfoot. It's not really that good of a story. It's not even a story. It's just my coworker once called it. I think it was like I had one of the songs on my kids' playlist and it just popped up, and they just go,
oh, this is from that
What?
woke Yeti movie, right? And I go, yeah, now I'm only going to call it the woke, now I'm only going to
Why
call
is
it
it
that
woke?
woke Yeti movie. Because there's another Yeti movie that came, well, because there's another Yeti movie called Abominable, which is just like a boring kids movie. But then Smallfoot's like woke, because the plot of Smallfoot is like, basically it's one of those things where it's like, oh, the humans are, it's, you know, Monsters Inc. where it's like, the Yeti are like, the humans are going to kill us. And the humans are obviously like, the Yeti are going to kill us. But it weirdly is also about like questioning religion, where it's like, our religion says we cannot look at the small feet people, otherwise we will fall apart. And like Common has like this villain song in it where he's like, you need to let it lie and not question religion. And like the opening song of it is Channing Tatum going like, if you have a question about the scientific method, throw it away, because questions are dumb. Never question the world. And it's so weird. So it is like a woke Yeti movie where it's like the plot of the next movie is like, you should question religion and the world around you. Do not take what adults say to you at face value. They might be lying to you just to keep their worldview intact. And it's like, okay, like very interesting message to put in this woke Yeti movie.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like most people know the woke Yeti movie.
Oh,
from
that's what that is.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Zendaya's Vici. Oh,
All right.
Andres Squonky. Danny DeVito. He's Thorgal. And Zendaya's Vici.
Danny, can I ask you some wrap-up questions?
Yes. You know, this
why
movie
is
though
it
is problematic, I gotta say.
Why is it?
Okay, never mind. I don't have to say it. Justin Roiland is in it.
Oh, the woke Yeti
which I
movie, you
didn't
mean?
realize. Yes. And then also, I think I might have mentioned, I alluded to this earlier, the guy who made that video got canceled. Like the Zendaya's Michi meme, he's canceled. So, yeah, problematic guy.
Make sure you don't cancel Danny for mentioning the woke Yeti movie. Danny.
Yes. Well, the woke Yeti movie itself isn't that, like, Channing Tatum's iconic. We love that guy.
Oh.
Knock on wood. Please don't cancel Channing. Remember that time I said something, it was like, John Hamm, we all love John Hamm. And like the next day it was like, John Hamm was part of hazing scandals in college.
I mean, I don't remember none of that. So are you thankful for Tilda Swinton? What else are you thankful for this Thanksgiving?
I'm thankful to look for the ocean, a Pixar journey.
I'm thankful to look for the ocean, a Pixar journey too. What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
All right, I was actually talking about this with my girlfriend. Because she's not a fan of either of them. But that's fine. It's fine. It's very Midwest stuff. It is orange Jello salad, which apparently is called ambrosia salad, but I've googled ambrosia salad and it looks nothing like the stuff I make. But my other one that is actually my go-to favorite, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, whenever I make it, I make so much because I want to bring it home with me, and that's that green bean casserole with the French onions on top.
You know,
I love that stuff so much.
I tried to make that one time, and it was awful. Like, I don't know what I did wrong.
I know how to make it.
Like, because I've had it, and I like it, but I don't know what secret I missed. It was, I don't know. It's just funny, because, I mean, that would normally be my answer, and then I made it myself, just because I saw green beans one day, and I was like, let's go for it. And I don't know. There's some trick to it. I think my answer is mashed potatoes. They're always great. And I think that the gravy on Thanksgiving is super special. So
okay, thank you. Because I feel like you go like, mashed potatoes are my favorite.
No.
It's just the food.
Well, no, it's like,
you know,
especially they do something different on Thanksgiving, and then you have that's the time when people spend the most time on the gravy for the mashed potatoes. So that's why they're special. All right, looking for the ocean. Yes.
Wait.
What are you thankful?
You know what
for?
else? Wait.
That's what I was about to do. I just said it weird because I dropped. I thought you were like,
I'll look for the ocean and fix it.
But
yeah. But wait. I'm also thankful that Aardman found their clay. I'm thankful that Coyote versus Acme got uncanceled. Let me keep scrolling up through the document to see what we talked about in recent weeks. I'm thankful that Erica Milsom apparently has a better short we'll get to eventually. I'm thankful that we did a Femtober episode. I'm thankful that there's a new Scott Pilgrim show I want to watch with Kieran Culkin on, who's an actor from Succession that Mark said should play Steve Jobs. And I'm thankful we came back from hiatus because I'm not going to keep reading about this stuff before hiatus.
Yeah, I'm thankful we're back from hiatus. I'm thankful we got to do Femtober. Here on Looking for the Ocean, you know, a lot of shows like to give films things like star ratings or thumbs up or things like that. but we actually like to give the film a physical object, like a gift that represents how we feel about it. And I think I love this film. I would like to give it, you know, they say they don't like gravy, but, you know, who doesn't like a pie? I'm going to give it maybe, now that I think about it, what might be my actual favorite, like, Thanksgiving food is a chocolate custard cake and a chocolate custard pie. I want to give that to them. It'll be a nice vegetarian thing for the chickens to enjoy.
All right, so this is I'm actually gonna give it something very serious, which is that I think the Golden Globes are a joke of a ceremony.
Big swing there.
Well, the Golden Globes are a joke of a ceremony, but I do think they've done one thing very cool once that I actually thought they'd done more often. Maybe I could quickly check to see if they did it in 2001, but I don't believe they did. But they once during the in 1992 they gave a special award to Robin Williams for his work as the genie in Aladdin. And I think what I was confused by is that they rather brilliantly wait, was it not here? I thought they nominated... Oh, no, it was BAFTA. BAFTA nominated Eddie Murphy in Best Supporting Actor for Shrek, which is one of the all-time great nominations from BAFTA. Is like, Best Supporting Actor, Eddie Murphy in Shrek. Nominated, not a win, but good. I can't be mad at it. Like, even if I'm not, like, a big Shrek fan anymore, I'm like, yeah, give Eddie Murphy a nomination for Shrek. That's cool. I swore they gave an award... Someone gave an award to Ellen DeGeneres honor, like, for... Nemo, but I can't remember. But anyway, I think it was really cool they did that in the 90s. And I wish they did a regular thing of it, like when there was an exemplary animated voice performance to give like a special Golden Globe for it. I think that'd be something that'd be, you know, especially at the time, you know, when Golden Globes would give like Best Picture to like, I don't know if Aladdin won Best Picture, but like Toy Story 2 won Best Picture. You know, like anime movies would win Best Picture at the Golden Globes. And ergo, I think it was cool they gave awards to like voice performances. All that to say, I'd like to give Julia Swalhahala, who I probably butchered her name again, a special Golden Globe for her performance as Ginger in Chicken Run. I think this is like very much a snub club thing for me to be like, here's the award, like an actual award I gave it, but I think she should have got more recognition for her voice performance here. Because it really is like, in a movie full of like a good voice cast, she still stands out head and beyond, like such a strong character that's rooted in the voice because of how Aardman works, you know? I just find it such a brilliant voice performance, and I wish she got more credit for it. Because I'm even looking through like the awards it got, it doesn't look like she got a single nomination. Like maybe the Annies didn't have a voice actor performance award at the time, but I don't know. I feel like she should have got a lot of acknowledgement. Oh, also thank you Roger Ebert for mentioning something I forgot to mention that I'll just bring up briefly because I've mentioned it a lot on a previous episode this year. But watching this reminded me not only of Wallace and Gromit, but also reminded me a lot of me revisiting Babe earlier this year. But Babe is also a much stronger film than this.
Well,
but Babe is a brilliant
I haven't watched Babe in a long time, but
I love Babe. I was watching Babe earlier this year and I just cried so much. I was like, the Babe, that'll do, Babe, that'll do. Anyway, Babe is a magical film. Babe 2 is also magical. In its own way, but I think Babe 1 is... Oh, I love Babe. I love Babe.
We should watch
Babe.
Babe.
He did it!
One of these days.
I revisited it earlier this year, but maybe down the road we can revisit Babe. I will gladly rewatch Babe again. Babe is so good, so I don't care.
Anyway, Danny, what are we doing next time?
Great question, Marky Mark and the Funky Munch. All right, next time we're going to take a long overdue detour, because I say long overdue because I have this habit where I check out DVDs from the library, even if I'm going to just, you know, watch the movie on Disney Plus, which I am going to do with this. And this DVD is like, I believe, been renewed 13 times because of the hiatus and how this was so ready to like go right after hiatus. And then we weren't going to hiatus, you know what I mean? Originally, we weren't going to hiatus. We were going to watch this pretty soon, and we didn't. And that is, we're going to talk about Planes 2, Fire and Rescue, which is going to be really funny because when our Planes episode, we're like, we're ready to talk about Planes now. We're going to talk about Planes 2 so soon. We'll get these planes out of the way. Now it's been like 4 months since we watched Planes 1. Well, so it's going to be like, yes, Planes 2. A Dusty Hopper is back. I can't wait to compare this to the original that I don't remember anything about. But yes, we're going to talk about Planes, Fire and Rescue.
All right.
Episode. Yep.
Looking for the Ocean is produced by Mark Young and Danny Vincent.
The show is edited by Julius Jefferson.
All right, I'm sure that's how Julius wants to be credited.
We gotta thank him. Thanks, Julius,
Yeah.
for editing this episode.
Thank you, Tim. Our original artwork was designed by Sarah Knopf.
Thank you, Sarah. You can follow us on social media at Facebook at Looking for the Ocean, Instagram at Looking for the Ocean Pod, and Twitter at Pixar Journey. And on our website, lookingfortheoceanpixar.podbean.com.
You can follow me on markyoungperformer.com. That has my socials. Get early bird tickets are on sale now for my show that I'm in Dunsinane in December. So get the tickets. They're selling out. I think day one is already sold out. So there are more days. Get more of those.
You can follow me, Danny Vincent, at BlankMints on Letterboxd, where you can hear all my takes on all the movies. You can listen to my other podcast, The Snub Club, where we talk about the films that have the most Oscar nominations but no wins whatsoever. Finally, if you're in Bedford, Indiana, or find yourself in the Bedford, Indiana area, the metropolitan Bedford, Indiana, that's a joke, because Bedford, Indiana is not, it's like a suburb of Indianapolis. It's not even near Indianapolis, honestly. It's more by Bloomington. But anyway, if you're in this area, and you know this area, and you're like, oh, gee willikers, I wish I could go see a Christmas play by Danny Vincent. Well, there will be a Christmas play by Danny Vincent called How Alex Got Her Wings. It's a Wonderful Life, or is it? You'll find out if you find out how Alex got her wings. In theaters, December 15th. In a theater, not in theaters.
We'll see you next time.